Welcome to part 2 on how to naturally beat anxiety and depression. If you missed my first video, you can check that out right here as I talked about the psychological or the mindset component of what and how people are thinking that can contribute to anxiety and depression. In this video, I'm going to talk about the physiological component and what's going on in the body that can negatively influence the mind. Because remember, what the mind says positively or negatively, the body's got to respond to, and vice versa. If your physiology is off in your body, this can negatively influence your mind and make people more prone to anxiety and depression. So let's dive into today's topic. First, I want to talk to you about the gut-brain axis. This is where the gut talks to the brain and the brain talks to the gut. It's kind of a bi-directional pathway of communication in which they can each send and receive information from each other. The first way is a direct way through the autonomic nervous system and the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. Secondly, there are indirect pathways through the hormonal system and the immune system. So if there is something negatively going on in the gut, this is going to negatively impact the brain, and vice versa. If your chemistry is off in your brain, then this is going to be negatively impacting your gut. First physiological component that can contribute to anxiety and depression are blood sugar issues, where we have hypo or hyperglycemia. This is where we have large swings in our blood sugar, where we have highs and lows that can make people more irritable or moody and can make you more prone to anxiety or depression. So what causes blood sugar problems in the body? There are three main things. First is poor diet. Second is weak digestion. And then thirdly is poorly managed stress. So let's talk about diet and blood sugar. So depending on what we eat, it can either create a moderate spike in your blood sugar or a very high spike in your blood sugar. And then as your body processes that meal, the blood sugar will tend to come down and self-regulate. However, people that consume high amounts of ultra-processed foods and sugars meal after meal, day after day, creates these large spikes in your blood sugar, and what goes up has to come down and it crashes. So doing this day in and day out creates these extreme swings in your blood sugar, and research demonstrates that people that have blood sugar swings like this contributes to moodiness, irritableness, and anxiety and depression. As opposed to people that consume large amounts of fruits and vegetables and eat more of a whole food diet, this creates more of a moderate spike and your body can better regulate your blood sugar. The second thing that contributes to blood sugar issues is weak digestion. If you cannot digest your food properly, this is going to negatively impact your blood sugar, which is going to make you more prone to anxiety or depression. Now, what causes weak digestion? Well, if you poorly manage your stress, this is going to cause muscle contraction in your body and more tension. But more specifically, it's going to cause muscle contraction in your spine. And in the chiropractic world, we call those subluxations. The second thing is consuming large amounts of ultra-processed food and sugar. This is also going to cause muscle contraction along your spine. And where exactly are you going to feel those two things? Up here at the base of your skull. When you've got muscle contraction and subluxations at the base of your skull there, this negatively affects the vagus nerve and that brain-gut axis I was talking about through the autonomic nervous system that weakens your digestion system. The last thing that negatively affects your blood sugar are your adrenal glands. Your adrenals are responsible for blood sugar regulation. So if they become exhausted or out of balance nutritionally, they cannot effectively regulate your blood sugar, and you're going to be more prone to anxiety or depression. So what causes your adrenals to become exhausted? This comes back to stress management. Your adrenals are one of two pathways the body has to combat stress. So if you are under high amounts of stress or prolonged stress and you poorly manage your stress, this can burn out your adrenals and make them exhausted and create blood sugar problems. The second thing is diet. People that consume a lot of ultra-processed foods, sugar, and caffeine, that can nutritionally exhaust your adrenal glands and create blood sugar issues. So what are some symptoms that you can experience if your adrenals are out of balance? This is where people have sleep problems. They can't sleep through the night. They can go to sleep fine, but then 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, they're wide awake and they're tossing and turning for an hour or two, and they have a hard time getting back to sleep. Secondly, you get lightheaded when meals are missed. This is because your blood sugar crashes because your adrenals can't regulate your blood sugar. Also, people that have adrenals that are exhausted can crave sugar and caffeine that can help regulate your blood, get your blood up. It's quick fixes. But also, too, you can crave salty foods, things like popcorn or chips. This is the body's way of letting you know that your adrenals are out of balance. The next physiological component is the microbiome. Now, there is a ton of research out there that is demonstrating that when people's microbiomes are out of balance, that they are more prone to anxiety and depression. Now, your microbiome is a community of microorganisms, which includes fungus, viruses, but most of all, bacteria. Now, your microbiome lives in your small and your large intestine. And when your microbiome is in balance and healthy, we have a proliferation of the good bacteria and a very diverse amount of species of good bacteria that work in harmony with the body and can give us great health benefits as a result of that being strong and healthy. However, when that gets out of balance is something that's called dysbiosis, is where we have a proliferation of the bad bacteria that can then limit the amount of species of the good bacteria that we have down there. And this can not only cause anxiety and depression, but a whole host of other health issues as well. So what negatively impacts the microbiome? Frequently snacking, consuming large amounts of sugar or ultra-processed foods, antibiotics, alcohol, consuming GMO ingredients that are in the ultra-processed foods, consuming artificial sweeteners like aspartame, Splenda, or sucralose, being overweight, stress, and smoking. So what positively impacts a diverse microbiome? This is consuming large amounts of fruits, vegetables, and fermented foods on a daily basis, losing weight or being your ideal body weight, and fasting. The last physiological component that contributes to anxiety and depression are subluxations. Now, chiropractors use this term, and what a subluxation is that we have 24 vertebrae from our head to our pelvis, and each vertebrae needs to move independently of the one above and below it. Now, we have a nerve that comes out from every single level. Each nerve goes through 3 separate things. It goes to an area of your skin, it goes to a muscle group, and it goes to an organ system. So when we are under stress, when we have muscle contraction, when we have poor diet, right? This causes subluxations in your spine, which then disrupts the communication between your brain and your body. The spine has a very intimate connection with the brain. So if the brain can't receive and send signals appropriately to your skin's muscles and organs, then it is going to weaken your body on a whole. So going in and getting chiropractic care and getting adjusted helps to restore the communication between your brain and your body and can allow the body to then express health. I can't tell you how many times I've adjusted people who are anxious or have had depression, and they're like, man, I feel so much better. I feel more relaxed, more calm. I had one lady that had depression that simply said, that sadness that I've been experiencing, it's just gone just by simply getting adjusted. So go and get checked out by a chiropractor, and leaving this out of the equation and healing from anxiety and depression, you're leaving out a big part of how strengthening the body to help you heal. This concludes my part 2 video for the physiological components of what contributes to anxiety and depression. If you missed part 1, the psychological or mindset component, you can check that out here. Also, too, I'm going to be doing a part 3 on the solutions to this, what you can do to help yourself heal from anxiety and depression, and you can check that out here. Also, if you want to do a deeper dive into the digestion system, I'll leave a link down below to my lecture on digestion disorders, where you can kind of go into the more about leaky gut and the microbiome. So I'm Dr. Keith. Thank you for watching. And just remember, it's your body, it's your choice, it's your health. Own it. If you need help, just ask.